I'd like to do a lot of experimenting with my gardens, especially my mini gardens and my container gardens. So I love my delectable tiny spaces because I can bring them inside, outside, and they give me a small space to experiment with. Well, this is one experiment that did not go quite the way I wanted it to.
Hello, I am Vicky Manitou Okas. Welcome. Now, right now, in the beginning of 2026, I'm thinking about uh, where I'm going from here and the next year. And in a world that feels like increasing chaos and the power brokers that seem to be thriving on abuse, I have a mission. It's a mission to encourage and support resiliency and sustainability in individuals and communities. I'm not an expert by any means. I am more of an opinionated student. I don't have all the answers. I never have. And I'm not going to pretend that I do. But I am good at doing research and I'm good at finding information. In fact, I am a collector of information and techniques, and I try them out. I am especially good at making messes and then cleaning them up. To me, this is a part of the learning process, and it's also how I have created abundance in my life.
I'd like to do a lot of experimenting with my gardens, especially my mini gardens and my container gardens. So I love my delectable tiny spaces because I can bring them inside, outside, and they give me a small space to experiment with. Well, this is one experiment that did not go quite the way I wanted it to. This was my microgreens garden for the winter, and I got a few microgreens out of it, but not as much as I would like. So it was partially successful, mostly not. And here's the issue. Inside the house, I really don't have a place that's got enough light to successfully grow this type of thing. I tried it anyway. Well, right now, and where the only place that has light is actually quite cool, almost at about 40 degrees, between 40 and 50 degrees during the winter. So it's okay. And I got a little bit out of it. So what I'm going to do, since it's February, is I am going to replant this, and I'm going to mist the seeds in, and I've got a nice, the rosemary is doing nice in this pot. Okay, this was tiny little thing when I planted it in there last fall, and it's doing okay. So I'm going to plant a couple of cabbage seeds on the other side, and I am going to reseed this with a microgreens mix and put it back out in the room, and we're going to I will fertilize this again with some coffee grounds, some coffee ground tea, and some worm compost when it's ready. I'm just getting started with the worm compost, so and that will be later in the month. So let's redo this and see if I can get better luck in a month or two. So we're going to start with I'm going to start with the microgreen seeds, which are, most microgreens are mustard family of some sort. So we're going to sow some of those in there. Okay. I'm going to leave what's in there, and as those, I will harvest those a little bit too. So I will use what is growing, okay? But we're going to get the next batch started. Okay. I have a small early cabbage. We're going to give this a try, and I am not necessarily recommending anything here. I am just showing that do not be afraid to experiment, because every time you do an experiment, you're learning something. And what I learned with the microgreens is they really need more light than what I can give them. Okay? And probably a little bit warmer temperatures. So we're going to see what happens over the next 30 to 45 days. Okay. All right. I only want about 2 or 3 cabbage seeds right there. Okay. And most of these seeds require light to germinate and good moisture content. So this is going to go back out to, it's cool out there, but we got some warm days coming. So I'm going to put this back out where it was and water it in good, and we'll see what happens. We'll revisit this later.
Well, you know, not every experiment turns out the way I intended it to, but it's okay. Every single one is a learning experience, whether it turns out right or not, or, turns out right or not. So, and it gives me information and knowledge for the next time. So I hope you enjoyed learning with me, even when things don't go right. And join us at Delectable Tiny Gardens, the meeting place for people looking to build resiliency in tiny spaces. And hey, take the container gardening challenge and see what happens in your life. Like, subscribe, and come join us at Delectable Tiny Gardens. And we'll talk to you next time.